right, welcome back from the break. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show, Global Morning, and we're still in the business of making your morning truly amazing. We've talked about sports, we've given you taste and texture, and there are a lot of things making the rounds in terms of money matters. And I was just about to sign a check of about $100 million to my co-anchor, but apparently she failed the question, so I don't think she will deserve to take the check home. So maybe next time you might just be lucky. So let's talk some business.
Let's talk some business. Over now to business news.
Hello and welcome to Business Report on Global Morning. Bureau de change operators have raised the alarm that due to depreciation in the value of Naira, some Nigerians are keeping their savings in the United States dollar. National President, Association of Bureau de change operators of Nigeria, Aminu Gwadabe, stated this, that there is need for forex market to be liquid. Gwadabe noted that $2.2 billion released by the African Import-Export Bank was not enough to stimulate the market, however, called for a paradigm shift in the supply of dollars in the forex market. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission released the 2024 electricity tariff, which shows that the federal government is to shoulder about 1.6 trillion naira subsidy to avert electricity tariff hike. In the tariff review application of 11 power distribution companies in Nigeria, NEC reviewed what it approved as their different cost-effective tariff and what was allowed as tariff by the Commission following the federal government's subsidy. NEC disclosed this in the regulatory instrument of the multi-year tariff order 2024 for different power distribution companies. Nigeria experienced a significant surge in its crude oil output, rising by 7.7% in December 2023. According to the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, monthly oil market report released on January 18, 2024. The country oil production reached 1.4 million barrels per day in December, reflecting a 100,000 million barrel per day increase from the previous month. This rise brings Nigeria closer to the meeting its 2024 budget oil production benchmark of 1.78 million barrels per day, which provides the data based on information from the secondary sources confirmed that Nigeria remains the highest African oil producing and exporting nation. Eternal PLC has signed a deal with the Dangote Petrochemical Refinery to become an official sales distributor of their products in Nigeria. In a corporate disclosure signed by Mandela Gold Coast, the company's secretary of Eternal PLC, it noted that Eternal PLC is in line with this move, has expanded its trucking capacity through truck acquisition as well as partnership with a third-party transportation company. Speaking on the partnership, the managing director of Eternal PLC, Benjamin Nwanze-Igwe, says this partnership with Dangote Energy is a reflection of their commitment to providing Nigerians with a world-class energy solution that meets their needs and expectations. Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
right, welcome back from the break. You're still watching Global Money, and it's now time for us while we're trying to get to talk about what's happening in the papers, we also will be discussing some other salient issues and making the rounds. And Jumari, let's get go. You've got the first salvo to take as we got talking points.
Yes, talking about the FCT, the minister, Badaru, who is talking about the ransoms that are being paid to kidnappers, that it's only escalating the issue much more. I think we're going to really look at that extensively by some of our guests that will be here on Global Morning this beautiful morning. We're going to look at that, and of course we will look at what Wike mentioned about there's no hiding place for criminals when it has to kidnappers. He wants to actually all armed forces their hands should be on deck when it comes to securing lives and property in the FCT.
All right, let's we've got our first guest on the Zoom line. We've got Lugard Okonobo joining us via Zoom. Lugard, good morning. Nice to have you join us this morning.
My sister from another mother. Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Yes, we were supposed to look at the papers while the producers are getting the papers ready. Let's look at the issue of Wike saying they're going to make life unbearable for bandits who have been terrorizing the FCT. Do you think it's so much talk, no action, or what are your expectations? The way the FCT minister is talking tough.
Well, my expectation is not too far from your own expectation. As the FCT minister, he takes the shot, being that he's more or less, you call the executive governor of FCT. He was just recently passed immediate governor of Rivers State as the chief security officer of the state there. He had his own challenges in terms of insecurity, but that angle is also totally different from what we are experiencing. So I think we should all come together to support His Excellency Nyesom Wike as the FCT minister. He's here to do the needful, and it's not just talking tough. He's a man of action, and he likes putting action to his words. So we give it to him and see how we'll be able to support him to achieve that goal in the FCT. You and I know that we are all together in this FCT, and it demands someone who is very proactive, someone who is dogged, and someone who has the tactics to be able to solve the insecurity situation that is bedeviling FCT. Well, I will not say that there is a political side to this, being that as someone from the PDP coming in to be the chief landlord of FCT, some persons thought have it that these are politically motivated to show that he's incapacitated to run the administration of the FCT. So it has political side, it has different sides to it, but let's keep faith and trust in God that working with His Excellency Nyesom Wike will be able to fish out these bandits. Don't forget, insecurity is not just affecting His Excellency Nyesom Wike. It's something that affects everyone. So fighting insecurity is the duty of everyone.
All right. We also have Oche Emmanuel, who is a legal practitioner and an activist, joining us via Zoom. Also, Oche Emmanuel, we've gotten Okonobo, Lugard Okonobo, who has given us his perspective to what is happening in the FCT in terms of the spate of violence. He's insinuating that, like the topic of yesterday's the desk program says, the politics behind insecurity in the FCT. Do you agree with Okonobo that the spate of insecurity seen in the FCT has political undertone, trying to make it look like Nyesom Wike is not capable of governing the Federal Capital Territory?
Well, good morning again, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on this very burning issue. The threat to life, kidnapping, and all the criminalities going on in Abuja is an existential challenge to the people of Abuja, Nigeria, generally speaking. I totally disagree with my fellow analysts on this platform that it is political, that it is trying to discredit Nation Wike. I totally disagree with him. Rather, from my own perspective of analysis and from our own criminal deduction of what is happening, is a sign of failed state. It's an indication that the government is not sensitive to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. It is also an indication that the government has tried all avenues but are failing. The Tinubu administration needs to rejig the security of this country. These are the things happening in the...
All right, we lost him there. You've got any question for Lugard before you let us go?
You know, like Mr. Lugard, good morning. How are you doing today? Hello?
Yeah, fine. I'm doing well. And you too?
I am fine. Now, Mr.
Hello,
Lugard,
good morning. I'm with you. Fine.
Okay, looking at the security state in the FCT, is it that should we be hopeful that the security chiefs and security agents, all hands will be on deck? From what the FCT minister has said, should we be hopeful that all will soon be well, or we should just all our toes should be up on the air, still living in fear? Because most Nigerians are actually living in fear as we speak.
Sincerely, it's our expectation, but it's so pathetic that this is happening in the FCT, where you have all the security chiefs, the chief of defense staff, the inspector general of police, the chief of naval staff, chief of air staff, all the security agencies, including the paramilitaries. They are all in the Federal Capital Territory. So I will urge at this point in time that yes, my colleague talked about rejigging, but several times we have rejigged, and the system keeps on getting worse. So I will say at this point in time that the Tinubu administration needs to do a real, will I call it dissection, and taking time to really study the security architecture of the country. Yes, we just had the former military head of state, the person of former President Muhammadu Buhari, out of the system now, and we now have a civilian as the president and CNC. So it demands that we come out openly to see how we begin to solve the issue of insecurity by thoroughly dissecting the security architecture of our dear country. I said earlier, I say it's so sad that this is happening at a time that we are beginning to come out of one issues that we see currently, that a whole lot of societal difficulty that people are subjected to, and now we are faced with banditry, kidnapping within the FCT. Is very sad, but I think this should bring us closer to think in depth to solve this problem that has spread like wildfire across the nook and cranny of our dear country, Nigeria.
I want to ask another question. You know, you mentioned that the former President Muhammadu Buhari, was a military general who ruled Nigeria, you know, who just left office. And now you're mentioning President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is a civilian. And now looking at this, the fate of FCT at the moment, can you compare? Would you say that it was better off when President Muhammadu Buhari was in power? FCT didn't face so much rock when it comes to kidnappings and banditry compared to what we see now. Do you think there's difference when it comes to administrative work in ruling, when it comes to that, if you're going to weigh the two, when it comes to the administration?
Well, it's too quick for us to take decision and begin to assess in terms of performances. But one thing we must know, that whatever we are experiencing today is a reaction from different actions of the past. We must take cognizance of the fact that
unfortunately we're experiencing a little bit of signal.
Taking different it has taken different dimension. So now that we have a civilian, it demands that the president himself should be able to do a thorough analysis of the situation that we have found ourselves. So I said that it's too early for us to begin to assess, but 6 months, 7 months into the administration, I think it's also good for us to be able to look at it to say, where are we now? If it continues like this, where will it take us to? So, former President Muhammadu Buhari spent 8 years in power, and we still saw that the insecurity in the country kept on increasing. At that point, some persons said, oh, Baba would have been able to do more if he was still very, very younger. So, and that to me was more or less a political statement, because we all knew what happened during the campaign, that former President Ebele Jonathan was not competent to handle the insecurity in the country. And so the clamor to have someone with a military background who have done it before, he can do it again. But we saw the reverse. Now, coming down to the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we must recognize that whatever that is affecting the economy has its own dimension to affect the life of the people. So, once again, take it from me that the insecurity situation that is on the increase stems from different angles. And that is why the security chiefs must work with His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to look at how this issue can be nipped in the bud. There is societal failure, there is political angle to it, there is economic crisis to it, and there is failure of the family system. All this put together has different impacts and effects on the insecurity of lives and property in our country, Nigeria.
To move over to papers now, right, Anthony?
All right, let's look at some of the big stories making the rounds in the newspaper. We've got the first paper has to do with, we've got the Daily Trust first. Ocha Emmanuel, I know you're still there with us. Let's look at the papers. One of the big stories from the papers has to do with dollar sells for 1,355 naira at black market. Official market closes at 902 naira to $1. Many industries might shut down, Professor Shekhar says. And we've got federal government eyes $1.5 billion at World Bank aid. Ocha Emmanuel, are you there with us? Ocha Emmanuel, are you there? Ocha Emmanuel, are you there? Okay, we can. All right, Lugard.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, let's look at dollar sales for 1,355 naira black market. Why the official rate is at 902 naira to $1. Are we heading for the rocks finally? Looking at how the naira is free falling, and many industries may shut down, says Professor Shekhar.
Many industries are already closing, and the increase in the rise in dollar sales also increasing the effect. We're actually heading for rock. My brother, I must tell you, the cost of living is on the increase because our country, Nigeria, is import dependent. And more also, the insecurity situation also, which is also affecting the entire system, has a way of increasing this the exchange rate between the dollar and the naira. It's so sad that with promises upon promises, policies, programs, and projects that are executed by government, we still find ourselves where we are.
All right, Mr. Lugard, I have a problem. I have a question. Sorry, not a problem. And it says many industries may shut down. We've seen so many industries shutting down already. The likes of when it comes to Shell and then ShopRite and all of these big companies that have come to as in impact our revenue when it comes to I need a word. When it comes to
revenue generation.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, all of these industries that are shutting down, what impact will they have on the Nigerian economy?
Number one, we'll have job loss. Number two, we'll have a lot of young people unemployed. Number three, the insecurity situation will take a different dimension. Number four, we expect that societal value will derail. So it's going to affect a lot. Already we are seeing it. And let me tell you, my sister, you think that it's just the only big companies. But I'll tell you that the greater percentage of people that are engaged in Nigeria are engaged by the small businesses that we see. That small shop that is able to employ 1, 2, 3 persons. That little canteen that employs somebody to be washing plates, someone is cooking, someone is collecting money, someone is in the kitchen. That little bakery at the back of your house that employs 5, 10 persons, these remain the engine room of development of the country. If the big ones cannot survive, then I ask, how do you think that the small ones can survive?
All right.
So what we are seeing today, we may see the ShopRite and all the big names and all that. Yes. But the ones that are more affected are the small businesses. I can tell you a lot of shops are closing down. Go to some plazas, everywhere empty. And with digital technology, that is also fighting from behind. So it's so sad. Every day I come in contact with young people. Even for young persons who wants to even volunteer for free, it's so difficult for them to even get space at the moment, because the person managing the company or the small office is battling with how he can be able to solve his own personal problem before even solving the problem in the office of power, buying stationaries, paying fees and all that. Is a very, very difficult situation.
All right, let's move on. Oche Emmanuel is still with us. Oche Emmanuel, let's look at this other story. It said days after CBN department moves to Lagos, federal government relocates fund to Lagos. Days after CBN department move, we've got the federal government relocating fund to Lagos. Do you think this is the right move? These ministries, MDAs, were moved from Lagos previously back to the FCT because it is the capital of Nigeria. Now that it's being moved to Lagos, do you think there's a political undertone in this movement, and does it augur well, the back and forth? Oche Emmanuel, are you there? Oche Emmanuel, can you hear me? All right, since Oche Emmanuel is not there, let's look at Okonobo. Can you respond to that big headline?
Yes, I've been following up the story, though I've not taken time to study in detail. But what that some department of the Central Bank of Nigeria being relocated to Lagos. It's like the earlier time that we had the experience of a Nigerian Port Authority, if you know, was supposed to be in Abuja. And people felt, oh, that's not supposed to be because there's no water. There's no waterways in Abuja. So why bring the headquarters of NPA? Yes, in the Federal Capital Territory, you can have it here. But the more of the activities that concerns the Nigerian water, Lagos, and relocation was done. Today, NPA has a liaison. What we should be looking, how can things work better for us? Whatever policy that government or regulations to, the fact remains that there are people that will be support and there are people that will be against it. What we should be looking at is how can we have better life for Nigerians? How can the policy work to benefit Nigerians? The people first. So taking some departments to Lagos, yes, let's expect that the reactions and actions. But the fact remains that from my own research so far, I found out that it is those departments that have correlation with management and monitoring of banking activities are the ones that are being moved to Lagos. And so you ask my brother, I think the only extra of a bank that is here in Abuja is the Unity Bank. Almost 90% of the banks that we have in Nigeria today, their headquarters are in Lagos. So it means that it's either the bank officials of these commercial banks or micro or whatever, they will have to be in Abuja most of the times, or the CBN staff will have to be in Lagos, and that's a huge cost. So government is doing its best to reduce the cost of governance. And so taking that step, to me, is a step in the right direction. Okay. But I am happy that we are discussing this. And I will also advise that you subject this matter to regular discourse. Because the more we begin to engage and discuss more on this issue, more other revelations will definitely come out as per the motive behind this action. Thank you.
All right, let's see. Ochemade, are you back with us? Hello, Ochemade, are you there? All right, we're still looking at the papers. Let's move on to other big stories. We have the Leadership newspaper is up next for review. It's Judgment Day for Sule, Fubara, and Oborevwori at the Supreme Court. That's the big story there. Supreme Court decides 13 cases from 6 states, including Ogun, Taraba, on Easy Cam in Nasarawa, Rivers, Delta, and Gombe.
And also some of the stories making the headline, Emefiele to be arraigned on 20 counts charge today. That's Emefiele being arraigned in court on a 20-count charge. And of course, going into football now, it says AFCON Super Eagles bounce back, beat Cote d'Ivoire 1-0. For me, I feel it's too early enough. We've just beat only one team yet. Let's see how others will go. I think it's too early to celebrate so much.
Yeah, definitely. That just shows the confidence that Nigerians have in the Super Eagles.
It does.
All right. Ochemade, are you there with us? Okay, look at, let's throw this question. It's Judgment Day for Sule, Fubara, and Oborevwori. You're from the Niger Delta. How important is it going to be for Fubara and Oborevwori of Delta states?
Well, I wouldn't want to preempt. I'm not, I'm not a legal practitioner. I wish them well. We have been in a country where it's almost growing point. When it happens, somebody say, let's meet in court. So we pray that going to court will favor these executive governors. You ask that I'm from the Niger Delta. You're also from the Niger Delta. And I think almost all these states that you mentioned, they are PDP control states. Am I right?
Yeah, we have PDP control states, yes. PDP and
Yeah, so
APC.
they are PDP controlled. Yeah, so let's hope for the best. They've gone through all the competition. The one thing I know from what I've seen so far, from my own analysis, I will say that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, let me use this word, body language. You know, body language associated with former President Muhammadu Buhari. You say body language. So let me to use that language here. From my own analysis, my own research on the body language of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think he wants status quo to remain. I'm not saying that it's going to influence the Supreme Court judgment, but the country is really going through a lot at the moment. And His Excellency, who is a tactician, an experienced politician, we don't want any states to be dragged into complicated issues. So he will want status quo to remain. He will want everything to just go on. And you know, politicians have a way they support and work together. So right. It's only those of us who is the side that will say, oh, these people are not together. They have a way of settling themselves. All so right. I'm not surprised to see that the judgment will be in the favor of the executive governors who have stayed more than 6 months or 7 months thereabouts.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me bring in Ocha Emmanuel, who is a legal practitioner. Ocha Emmanuel, are you there? Ocha Emmanuel. Okay, he's out there not joining us yet. I just wanted to get from his own legal perspective what we should be expecting in today's judgment. All right, there's another top story there it says Emefiele to be arraigned on 20-count charge today. As regards Emefiele, who is also from your region, do you think Emefiele is getting more than he bargained for in terms of the judiciary and the security agencies tossing him back and forth?
Well, Anthony, I may not agree with you that the security agencies is tossing him back and forth. One thing I know, having worked in an office, is this. There is a lot you will never know when someone occupies an office. Until the person leaves, that is when you know the damages and destructions that has been committed by that person. But because we have a system that is not well structured to monitor, trace, and track, it becomes very difficult for us to be able to handle issues to when someone is in office. And I've advised here we need to put major strategies and policies in place that will be able to checkmate chief executives, not just Emefiele, every other chief executive while in office. That way we'll be able to curtail their excesses. So whatever he may be going through today, I will not say he deserves it, but I will only advise that justice, fairness, and equity in the dispensation of judgment and trial should be applied to his case. Thank you.
All right, I think I don't know if let's move on to other big stories making the rounds. I don't know if Ocha Emmanuel has finally joined us, but let's move to the Punch newspaper. We've got some big headlines in the Punch newspaper.
And it says here above the Punch, Reps order ministries to return 885 billion naira COVID-19 funds. That's very shocking. 85 billion naira COVID funds. That means funds were put in place that need to be returned, were not used appropriately by some of these.
I wouldn't say I was surprised because remember that COVID time, there was this period where it looked like the deliberately figures of death tolls of COVID patients
were on the rise,
because the more you had, debt tolls, the more the funds were going to be allocated to states and ministries and agencies. So it was like business at that point in time. So I wouldn't be so surprised that we're seeing such thing play out.
And then more stories here. It says oil firms, Unity Bank lead as market cap hits 50 trillion naira. Of course, that's under business. And the federal government plans over $3 trillion for energy transition. And below the punch, the main headline says public outrage grows as kidnapping epidemic worsens. And of course, we know what's happening, especially here in the FCT, places like Dutse Alaji, when you hear Karo, when you hear places like Maraban, all of that, Buhari, for instance. And of course, the kidnapping rate has really increased. And of course, 12 Zamfara varsity students, officials, 19 Abuja victims, 4 IBOM coppers among captivities, of course, in the hands of kidnappers. Now, Tinubu urges to tackle insecurity, food crisis at all costs. Bandits attack 10 Kaduna villages. Of course, this is going on the rise now. So,
all right, and a very interesting story. It says police to pay 50 million naira for arresting Abiola's widow in nightgown. That's a very interesting story. I wonder if it's the nightgown that's causing the 50 million, or the fact that she was wrongly arrested. It's not very straightforward, but that's the reason you have to pick the Punch newspaper and get to read to see. We've got IG presents 2 billion naira to families of deceased corpse in Abuja. Okay, let's see. Let's get your take. Lugard, Okonobo, you still there? Lugard, are you still there? Okay, we don't know if Ocha Emmanuel is still with us, but very interesting when most times you hear IG presents 2 billion naira to families of deceased military. Okay, all right, Ocha Emmanuel, nice to have you join us back again. First of all, there was a story about the Supreme Court to deliver judgment for 6 states, Fubara and Abdul Sule. I wanted to get your take. Do you think, based on the previous judgment of the Supreme Court that reversed the judgment of Kanu and that of Plateau, that they might be forced to follow suit with the line of that judgment? Is it going to influence the judgment we're likely to see today?
Well, thank you once more. The line went off earlier when I hooked on. Having said that, once a matter is in court, lawyers and every Nigerian are expected to exercise restraint from making comments over the matter that is in court.
Okay.
I will be preempting the outcome of judgment if I make any comment on that. However, I like to say that the Supreme Court is truly a court that is supreme. And the justices there are people of extraordinary courage. And they will follow the law, particularly in Nasarawa State, which is known to everybody. The blind could see and the deaf could hear, and everybody knows the direction of things. In Delta State, in River State, in Kebbi State, accordingly. But I can assure you that whatever comes out of the Supreme Court will not be a product of any influence. They are very courageous, they are highly learned, and they are extraordinary people. So that's all I can say. Because the matter is still in court, it will be unfair for me to make a pre-judicial statement. All
right, there's another big story that says reps order ministries to return 85 billion naira COVID-19 funds. Are you impressed with the comment or the work done by the reps? And are you surprised that ministries and MDAs still have COVID-19 funds attached with them?
The whole idea of the struggle for prevention of COVID-19 in Nigeria, particularly under Buhari's regime, was a scam. The Buhari's regime did not put so much attention on ensuring that the COVID-19 palliative and everything that was meant for the people, the very vulnerable people, the IDPs and the poorest of the poor, gets the benefit. Rather, it was just used for the benefit of the few. And what we are seeing now is a clear outcome of the the impunity that existed in the days of Buhari, as far as the humanitarian ministry and the COVID-19 program was concerned. I am not surprised. I want to thank the investigators. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank reps for coming out with a very laudable report and directive on some of the MDAs. The monies are there, stolen by people. Like I said, it was a huge scam. And Betta Edu, who is the first victim, and maybe the woman from NSIPA, who has been relieved of her position, they are just first in the rank of those who are going to be relieved of their appointment. The president should summon courage to allow heads to roll. Those who are complicit in this matter should be edged out and be prosecuted and punished accordingly. There should be no complacency. There should be no compromise. There should be zero tolerance to corruption in this government. If these are not done, then this country would have gotten it right. Don't forget that we have a president who said that being a president is his long-term ambition. He now has the opportunity to experiment, to dramatize, to implement all his lifetime ambition while in office. If he does not get this struggle right, history will remember him for the wrong reason. So I'm not surprised. Those who are complicit should be punished accordingly.
I have a question. There is this particular news on the Punch that says police to pay 50 million naira for arresting Abiola's widow in nightgown. Is it the nightgown that she's being compensated for or being arrested unlawfully, in your own opinion?
I didn't get that question, please.
It says police to pay 50 million naira for arresting Abiola's widow in nightgown. In her nightgown, she was. So I'm asking your own opinion. Is it being paid the 50 million naira for her nightgown because she was arrested in her nightgown, or being unjustly arrested? In your own words.
Well, I think the media has made a very captivating caption of that issue. So you are in the industry, so you know how you people do these captions. One, the 50 million may be for indecently arresting the widow in a very indecent manner. While arresting a suspect, she does have a right to protection. She does have a right to her privacy. And if they have invaded her while she was half naked, while she was in her nightgown, don't forget that this nightgown can be very revealing. If the police have invaded her and have taken her in that manner, it is wrong, because they would have invaded her privacy in the course of arresting her. And she's a high-profile person, for God's sake. Only yesterday, the police went to a radio station in Abia State to arrest a suspect over land matter. I don't know what the police is doing with land matters anyway. As a lawyer, I'm here to know, because I know that land matters are strictly civil matters, except if there are crisis, fight and all of those things. Now, the police went to the TV station in Abia State to arrest the suspect, and they destroyed so many things. The midgate, the cameras, and everything was destroyed just in the course of arresting a suspect. Why would they not wait at the entrance or at around the office, so that when the man comes out, he's picked up? Why would they have to do all of those dramatizing? So for me, the 50 million might be for invading her privacy and arresting her in such conditions. She does have a right to seek such a redress and damage, being a high-profile person. Even not just that, being a normal Nigerian citizen, she has a right to be protected. And arrest must be done decently, not in a Gestapo manner.
All right, we're looking at this day newspaper. One of the headlines says, alluded to the Vice President, Shettima. Shettima, we are not in Davos to beg, but to dialogue on equal terms. That's one of the headlines. So is that then 5 more governors no fate today. Our Supreme Court delivers judgment. Lokoburi is a kicker there. Federal government ready to immediately approve Shell's $2.8 billion deal with oil consortium. Ighodalo pledges to position Edo to top from 17 trillion global idle capital. All right, let's just look at Nigeria at the World Economic Forum taking place in Davos, Switzerland. For you, do you think that Nigeria has the pedigree to say they're going to dialogue on equal terms?
I can hear you. Can you step up your volume, please?
All right, I said, Shettima has said we're in Davos, Switzerland, where the World Economic Forum is taking place. Nigeria is there to dialogue, but not to beg, but to dialogue on equal terms. Do you think Nigeria has the standing to dialogue on equal terms when we are busy borrowing from the World Bank and we're not manufacturing, but instead we're importing?
Well, I do think I'd like to thank the courage of the Vice President, Shettima Alhaji Shettima, for making that bold statement before the world. Of course, we are an independent entity, protected by all the laws and the protocols that govern every country. And we cannot go to such high-profile economic meeting, cap in hand, trying to beg the world for assistance. No. If we talk about indebtedness, almost all the countries in the world, including the United States, are all indebted. Debt owing is part of countries' way of life. And so that we are owing the IMF and different financial world organs does not make us weak, does not give Nigeria the reason not to go to such meeting with the audacity to speak and command the influence that we have. We are big world players, as it were. Don't forget, our gold, our oil, and other solid minerals are becoming a prime taste for other world investors in the current economic regime. And so we have reason to speak the way Shettima has spoken. And of course, for us as a country, we do know that our leaders have mismanaged some of the opportunities that we have in the past. But be that as it may, we will continue to play our role as an independent entity protected by territorial integrities and, who are signatories to all the world protocols that allow us to exist as independent country. We will not go to such place and begin to speak as if we are the only ones that have been beaten and we are the only ones that need help. No. We think that Shettima is correct in that statement.
All right. The last story, Lukubiri, federal government ready to immediately approve Shell's $2.8 billion deal with oil consortium. We know that we've been told that two of the companies, or three of them, are Nigerian companies, while one of them is an international company trying to buy off Shell. Are you confident that the federal government has done their background check to ensure that these companies buying Shell over have the capacity and ability to run that company, and also for the interest of the Nigerian workers who are with Shell, who will be transferred to this new company? Are you confident background check agreements have been sorted out before they, seal this deal?
Well, to an extent, I have no reason to doubt the Nigerian government for trying to put pen to paper. This is the government with all the brains and all the individuals that understand that sector. They would have consulted, there should have been a consultant who would have done the background checks. And I also believe that it is high time that Nigerian companies begin to take our industry very seriously. And then it's also time that Nigerian government begin to put confidence in our companies, Nigerian-owned companies. Don't forget that the Dangote refineries, we all heard, have already started production. And with such magnitude of investment in the Nigerian oil sector, most of the foreign oil companies are going to leave the country because they suddenly realize that what they have been doing, that Nigerians are going to take off and start doing it themselves. So it wouldn't be business as usual. So for some of them wanting to sell their companies, it is as a result of the breakthrough that the Nigerian business sector, particularly the Dangote Group, have made in the oil sector. We are going to see more of such foreign companies selling their ownership and their rights to local investors, which is good for us.
Don't you think it's because of the fact that during the last summit, the United Nations Climate Change Summit, where the world has agreed to move away from fossil fuel, that's one of the reasons people like Shell are selling off.
Moving from fossil fuel is not an atomic science. It's a procedure. Don't forget that whether they move or not, fossil fuel will still run the order of the world for a long time from now. It will still be one of the major sources of energy for our industries and companies around the world. So most of them are not moving because of that. They are moving because they see the future of Nigerian energy sector wholly being taken over by the Nigerian investors. Don't forget that most of these companies are manned by Nigerians anyway, even though they are owned by foreigners. So it's as simple as that. It is not because of their decision to move from fossil. No. The cleaner environment policy of the world does not really mean that there won't be fossil energy dependence on fossil energy. No. For now, we know that the future of this country largely will be taken over by Nigerian investors. And the foreign investors who can only be partners, not owners, not total owners of companies that exist in the country as we move forward.
All right, our last question for you will be as regards the explosion in Ibadan. Now the death toll has hit 5. Do you think there's a sinister motive? Because the federal government had ordered an investigation into it. Yes, Seyi Makinde did come out to tell us it was due to illegal mines or stored by illegal miners that was stored that led to that explosion. Do you think we should look beyond that and probably have a forensic, investigation into that matter before it turns probably is another form of insurgency brewing?
Well, for me, I don't see any sinister motive behind that explosion, but I see a failure of the security agents in trying to identify such a warehouse. It's unfortunate. First of all, my condolences to those, the families of those who have lost their life, and the government of Ondo State. Ogun State. It's
Oyo State, right?
It's a very unfortunate situation, but we think that the security. What are the DSS doing? What are the police intelligence doing? We have so many secret police and so many secret police informants around. Why did they not get the information earlier? What I heard the governor say, which really shocked me, was that the fact that there are some foreigners' names on the list of those, that own the company. That is immaterial. That is immaterial. For me, even a local investor, a company totally owned by Nigeria, should not be allowed to keep explosives in their homes. It should not be allowed, because what happened there, for those that live in Ibadan, I've been in touch with some of my friends who give me an update on what's happening there. The explosive was so strong that even houses that are several kilometers away, their roofs were moved up. You can imagine such destruction. So it's a sign of failure of security, security agencies, and that should not be encouraged. For in terms of bombings and all of this, well, I don't think we should escalate the incident to that angle. We should just look at how we can curtail, how the security operatives can look beyond the fact that these very explosive ought not to have been in a private apartment where they were. It shouldn't be.
All right, thank you very much, Chair Emmanuel, who is a legal practitioner and activist. Thank you very much for joining us on the Breakfast Show, Global Morning. It's always a pleasure having you do your analysis, very balanced, the insight analysis. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully by 1 p.m. we might be together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, President, and thank you for doing one.
May God be with you all. God bless
Thank you very
Nigeria.
much. All right, that's how we're going to call this session of paper review over. And hopefully, on top of the hour, we'll be looking at still talking security matters as regards what's facing the FCT and the country as a whole. We'll be having our guest also who will be joining us via Zoom to talk about, he's a former U.S. Marine soldier who is retired now into defense strategy in the person of Bishop Johnson, who will be joining us at 9 a.m. sharp to look at other issues concerning tackling insecurity in the country. You got some things to add before we go for this quick break?
No, not at all. I hope he just delivers when it comes to insecurity, because it is an issue for most Nigerians who are living in fear as we speak. But hopefully everything will be fine soon. What the FCT minister is saying, and of course President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has said no stones will be unturned for criminals who indulge in this sort of activity.
All right, so we are hoping for the best from Mr. President down to the service chiefs and the FCT minister and to Nigerians. Nelson Wike did say it, so everyone, traditional rulers, everybody, you have a role to play. All you need to do is just inform the security agencies when you notice anything so that they can get the job done. And
then one more other thing, everyone's hand should be on deck when it comes to individuals in the society as a whole to give appropriate and right information to security agencies. That particular information goes a long way in securing lives and property.
All right, so we'll go for a very quick break. When we come back from the break, Africa's Finest Breakfast Show, Global Morning continues. Stay with us.
Don't go anywhere.